and players mob him.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Big Three NBA podcast. Right before we started recording, Sherrod decided to start singing the Kool-Aid Jam song.
Kool-Aid Anthem. It's the Kool-Aid Anthem. Let's get it right.
Kool-Aid Anthem, if that's what we're going to call it. I'm Kwani Lunis, Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn.
Gary's already tired of us, Kwani. You see that?
Every single time we start an episode, he's like, why did I come back this week? But before we continue...
It's my fault. It's me.
No, it's not you.
Blame
it's
me.
us.
He's just
here. The problem.
Gary's here just not to get fined. That's all. He's here not to get fined.
And to get better. But before we start...
I'm trying to get better in 2024.
I hate both of y'all.
I knew this was coming. I want to give a shout out to the location that I am in right now. Obviously, this is not where you guys are used to.
We give location shout outs now? Okay.
Yes, because I will explain. One, I'm at the Dorchester YMCA. If you live in Boston, make sure you're supporting the local Ys. Obviously, this is a resource for all the kids in the community. But the reason why I'm here is the Celtics every year, this I think is probably the second annual one at this point, but they do a Fit to Win event. And this one was basically a smoothie and salad competition. They get
so there was food for you, Kwani. In other words, there's food for you.
No, but let me explain it. Goodness, it's always about food. So basically, they're teaching the kids that live in this area how to make their own smoothies, how to make their own salads, so that they can, when you're going to a grocery store, for example, they know, like, all right, maybe leave the bag of chips on the shelf, pick up some cucumbers, pick up some lettuce, and here's how you can put it together. So they had 4 teams. They had Svi and Derek White here as consultants for 2 of the teams. Derek White's team did win the first round, which was a salad round, and then he was mad that we didn't give him all 5s across the board. Round 2, his team didn't win at all, so he wore his sunglasses and was very upset with me and my fellow judges for the rest of the evening, which included the silent treatment. So that's just a recap of what went down. But of course, Celtics-centric, so I figured our viewers would actually think it's a little relevant.
So in other words, when Derek White goes off in the next game, he's going to get his anger out.
Yes.
That's his anger towards you. He's going to put that on the Lakers.
He's very upset with us right now.
He's going to put it on the Lakers, Gary. He's going to put it on your Lakers.
Hey, whatever keeps them motivated, right? Let's just get into the Celtics right now. They just barely escaped with a win over the Pacers, fueled by a very good late game defense. Tatum had 30. Our guy, Derek White, 24 points. Celtics now with back-to-back wins and, of course, have won 8 of the last 10 games so far. Tatum, Brown, they've had their moments defensively over the last few games as well. But we'll quickly play some pick and roll between Tatum and Brown, and then we can get back into that game if you guys want. Who has had the better shot at an all-NBA defensive spot at this point in the season?
Jalen. And mainly because Jalen has talked about it more. I think Tatum's body of work defensively, I think he's been a little bit more consistent, but Jalen has stepped his defensive game up of late. He really seems to be not just buying into it, but just embracing the fact that he needs to be that guy defensively. That Drew Holiday is going to do what Drew Holiday does, and Derek White, those are 2 all-NBA defenders. But to Jaylen Brown, he's shown the ability to step his game up from one year to the next. And this year, it's like, what are you going to do now? Where can you, frankly, be better than you've been in the past? And I think he's made a very conscious effort to be a better defender. And that's something that if you're the Boston Celtics, that's great to hear, because he's going to have games in the playoffs where he goes 6 for 19. That's that. It is what it is. But can you have those games and still be impactful in other ways? And I think that's part of his growing process, part of his elevation as an elite player in this game, to find ways to impact winning and not necessarily do it the same way in terms of scoring the ball.
Whoa. I think this is
Had to take a deep breath on that one, G, huh?
It's a close one. Because I think Jason's been very good defensively, been very engaged, had that big block shot on Tuesday night to force a 24-second clock violation on Miles Turner late in the Indiana game. So I don't want to waffle, but I'm going to say it's about even. I mean, I think both have been.
What you going to waffle? I'm going to start calling you Belgian.
That's hilarious. Oh my,
Bruh.
sorry viewers, sorry listeners.
Yikes.
That was awful. Anyway, I think that it's even. I'll give the nod, the edge to Jason just for his activity. But Jalen's played great defense this year. Jason, I think, has gotten more involved reading passing lanes. He had a couple of big steals. A couple of last night, I think the New Orleans game. He's smarter defensively. He understands that it's not just stopping your man. It's filling that passing lane, maybe helping out when on defense, running the floor, just things that, contesting, things that win ball games. And it's not always just scoring the ball. And I think both him and Jalen are exceptional at that. But I think both have learned that, hey, they have to become plus defenders too in order for this team to have a chance at the championship. So I'm going to give the edge to Jason just because, it's the opposite of what Sherrod said. So I'm always going to be on that
main
side.
reason.
That's the main reason. But I think both have played all defensive team, maybe not first team, because we leave that to Derek White. I think Derek White's been exceptional, and the guys like Drew Holiday. But to be named or honorable mention, to be considered, I think both.
That's fair. Sure.
Still waffling.
Reluctantly agree.
I said Tatum, fool.
After I had to put a little kind of nudge you in that direction.
I had to call you building. That really
exactly. Now you want to get off the fence. Good. Eat that waffle later, man. Eat the waffle later.
Oh
ahead,
my
Kwani.
gosh, it's always food. But quickly, if you two would so indulge, let's talk about the Pacers game. Obviously, I've mentioned 2 back-to-back wins at the TD Garden. That one way closer than most people probably expected. So let's just talk about that defensive run towards the end. Did you guys see that potentially coming? Because I'm not gonna lie, by the half, I was like, all right, what's going on? Third quarter, wasn't sure if they were going to really be able to pull this one out. But what did you two see from their late run to win this game?
You got it, Gary.
I saw that they finally won. They played. They made the intangible plays. Like, Indiana was killing them on 17 offensive rebounds in the first 3 quarters. That's heinous, unacceptable, embarrassing, whatever words you want to use. One team basically gets 6 offensive rebounds in every quarter. That's one every damn near 2 minutes. Like, what are you doing? Rebound the damn ball. Indiana got 2 in the fourth quarter. They emphasized screening. They were watching it, how active Indiana was. Instead of ball watching, the Pacers were going after the damn ball, trying to figure out where it's going. The Celtics up there looking at the ball. Ooh, that's a real nice spin. Like, get the damn ball. They got the ball. They defended. They slowed down Indiana's offense. And it didn't hurt that Tyrese Halliburton was on a minutes restriction and didn't play the fourth quarter. So
That's right.
When you're missing an all-star player, that helped. But Nembhard was good. Nembhard got buckets. He's a guy I kind of compare to Peyton Pritchard. And he's a guy I think you hope Peyton Pritchard can turn it not into a three-point shooter, but like a bucket getter, crafty bucket getter like Nembhard does, where he fakes and he shoots over bigger guys. Like, that's what, to me, and I know Nembhard's probably a little younger, but that guy, like, he's a bucket getter. And that's what you want besides a three-pointer. Peyton's good at the shoot a three-pointer, and he's good at getting the layup. But Indy has 2 guys, McConnell and Nembhard, that I think Peyton could take some notes from in terms of how to get buckets against bigger guys. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but Nembhard ran the show. But I thought defensively they stepped up. They allowed Indiana 21 points in the fourth quarter. They didn't let Nesmith get off, and Nesmith was very good in that game. They rebounded the ball. They got stops, and they won it ugly. They won it dirty, and sometimes that's the way it's got to be. You're up 106-103. You've blown a 20-point lead. You know what? Win it anyway. So what? You blew a 20-point lead. That happens in the NBA basketball. Nobody cares about a 20-point lead, especially even at halftime. We saw at the end of the first half, it was 79-59. It was like, oh, the Celtics about to cruise. Indiana scored 7 points in the last 43 seconds of the first half. And you were like, yeah, they don't have these guys put away yet, because the lead was down to 15. And then Indiana came out, I think, with a 16-4 run. And then, and then all of a sudden it was a ball game. So you know what? It doesn't matter. You didn't cover the spreads. I know the fans of FanDuel may be a little bit upset, but you won the game. You keep it moving. You got 3 wins over a tough Indiana team. And let's be honest, you could have won a 4th game if they called the foul on Buddy Hield and didn't call the foul on Porzingis. So you could have won easily. You should have probably 4 or 5 from these guys. And he is a tough team. Indiana plays hard. They got a deep bench. And we didn't see Mathurin, in that game. So give props to Indiana. And this could be a, I don't know, maybe a first-round matchup. I don't think Indiana's going to fall to 8. They could, but this could be a first-round matchup or even a second-round matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they're just tough. I mean, they're tough. They're grimy. They don't have all the bells and whistles that a lot of the top-tier teams have. And that's okay, because that's not who they are. That's not their identity. And the Celtics, I give them credit. These are the kind of teams that you don't want to play, really, because they're going to make you work harder than you normally would work. They're going to force you to find ways to win that might be unconventional and, frankly, uncomfortable for you. And I give the Celtics credit. This was not a game that the Celtics kind of had their way from the beginning to the very end. They had some serious turbulence on the road to winning this game, and they were able to find a way to do the only thing that matters this time of year, which is keep those wins stacking up. And Gary, I think this is more. I think this will be more of a potential second round matchup with Indiana pulling off an upset in the first round, because I don't think Indiana is going to fall so far enough to where they are going to be, a 7th or 8th seed or playing in that position. I look at them as a team that's going to be in that 4 or 5 game, which to me, that's just, typically teams that are in the 4 or 5 game are teams that could easily, they're 2 or 3 wins away from being a number 2 or a number 3. Indiana, I think, is going to be that kind of team. But the point that you made earlier that you kind of touched on with Halliburton not being there, that was obviously a factor in this particular game, but the Celtics have shown the ability to win with without that dude on the floor. So I don't really think much about him in that regard. But I do think that this is a team that if you're the Celtics, it's good to beat them like this now in the regular season, because it's a reminder that you're going to have to grind to beat these guys. You're not just going to punch them in the mouth and they're just going to stand there and drop to their knees and drop to the floor and call it a day. They're going to get off the mat. And they're going to keep scrapping. You are going to have to keep hitting them, keep putting them down, keep them on their heels, because that's just how they're built. They're built. This is such a Rick Carlisle coach team. Just scrappy, trying to find a way to just hang in there long enough so that they can steal a win or two and make it a series and plant some seeds of doubt. That's what he does. And this team is perfectly built to be that kind of team, which is why I don't want to see them in the first or second round of the playoffs. If I'm the Celtics, I don't want no part of this smoke.
No smoke at all. Gary and Sherrod, before we move on from this game, we do need to address another thing that happened. Gary, I'm sorry that it's funny, because as journalists, we never are part of the story, but it's funny because you always end up being part of the story.
Oh, gosh.
Recently, at least. So the Buddy Hield incident, can you actually just explain what exactly was happening?
Talk to the people, Gary. Talk to the people and set the record straight.
That's honestly what confused me the most after I had listened to the press conference before seeing what happened.
Okay.
See, this is what happened. What happened was...
What happened was, so the Celtics Celtics had the basket in front of their bench in the first half. Indiana calls a timeout. Buddy Hield takes the ball and start shooting after the timeout when people are walking back to the bench at the Celtics basket.
Just like during commercial break?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
So people didn't really see it. So he takes one shot, then decides to take another shot. Sam Cassell walks out there and is like, man, don't be taking shots at our basket. That's not what we do. And him and Cassell started going at each other.
I'm taking Sam every day.
They said it was lighthearted and it was a part of the game. And then Zach Zarba comes out, the official, and Cassell's like, yeah, he's shooting at our basket. And Zarba's like, come on, Sam, just go back to the bench. Like,
it's not that deep though, right? Am I tripping right now?
I guess. I mean, that's why I tried to ask Joe.
Yes. What
happened and what kind of rules is this? Because there's just little things like, you know, as we learn with the in-season tournament, running up to score. There's just little things in basketball that, you know, you try not to do. Or now, remember, for you Celtic fans from a decade ago, when a player used to play against the Celtics and threw a shot up after the a whistle was called, it wasn't going to count. He would just throw it up. Kevin Garnett would go out there and block it. And people say, oh, Kevin, you so petty. That's so petty. That's so petty.
It is, and I love it. Love it.
But it got popular. So now everybody does it.
I see what you mean.
Everybody blocks the shot. Everybody, you know, no, you're not shooting our basket. No, you're not getting a free make in this game. I don't care if it's a timeout. So obviously the bench had a problem with Buddy Hield shooting at the Celtics basket. And so Mazzulla said, it's our job to go out there and just send somebody out there or somebody to go out there and just block them.
Block the shot.
And that was what our exchange was about. I wasn't trying to start nothing, but it continued because Hield kept talking to the Celtics bit, and even Tony Dobbins got involved. And
Tony is
the quiet one.
That's the mellow one.
Tony don't say nothing to nobody. Tony be keeping it moving.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony started talking to Hield. So when I saw Tony start talking to Hield, I knew it was something going down. I talked to Hield after the game. He was like, oh, no, I'm good. It was just all fun.
They brush it off.
You know, he brushed it off. He was fun. I mean, Buddy Hield's a fun guy to talk to. I mean, he was open, you know, honest. Like he's not a bad guy. He's keep it real. And so I just asked Joe, like, kind of what happened there. You know, it's my responsibility as a reporter to see things, try to see what goes on inside the game and outside the game. That's what I ask about. It's a stupid question. No,
it's a fair question because
if the bench is yelling at a player, to me that's a story. That's something to write about. That's something going on there. So I asked because it was about Buddy Hield taking shots, and Mazzulla's point was, well, was he just doing this with the ball and shooting it? No, Joe, he was shooting at the damn basket. He wasn't doing this whole
he was trying to get a rhythm.
Yes.
With his,
So that's what we talked about. Just like in Houston, okay, I'm gonna give props to my man. His name is Alan Hunt. He is Celtic security. Okay. He got old man strength. So there was
facts
in Houston. There was a season ticket holder from the Rockets who literally tried to walk up to Tatum and touch him on the shoulder. And Alan Hunt grabbed him and threw him against his seat. And the guy was like, oh, I'm sorry. Now, who knows? Like, he talked his way out of it because Houston PD came up to him, security came, arena security, and he got a chance. He still stayed in his seat. And then I talked to Alan. He said he was really apologetic. But I was like, what was he trying to do? And he was like, he was just wanting to walk up to Tatum. And if you guys remember, a couple of weeks ago, a fan literally walked up to LeBron at Crypto.com Arena and like touched him, and then they wrestled that dude out. So if I see things like that, I'm going to write about it and I'm going to ask about it. I asked Tatum about it, and he noticed it. It wasn't like he was aware the dude was trying to touch him.
Right.
So those are the things that I like to feature if I see things that basically people can't see on television. No one saw that. Like Alan, I'll call Mr. Hunt.
You better call him Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hunt.
Mr. Hunt. Yeah, Mr. Hunt. We need to cut that part out. Anyway,
Mr. Hunt.
grabbed him and threw him against the seat. And I was like, yo, what just happened? And so if I see a situation like Hield and Sam Cassell running to the floor to approach Hield, like, don't do that, shiznit, then that's something that needs to be asked. And so Joe was cynical and it was interesting. People, what is he talking about? Like, if you look at the tape, and I think NBC had a tape of just Cassell going up, like a cameraman caught
block it. Yeah,
going up to tell Hield stop shooting at our basket.
Oh, okay.
Because there's certain rules and certain things in the NBA,
like unspoken rules that everyone knows.
Yeah,
but
baseball has many more of those, but basketball also has some. So that's what I asked about. I don't know if that explains it all.
No, it does explain it. And I think to your point, what I think you said it very well is you are in the arena not just to watch the game, but to be aware, maybe even hyper aware more than a general fan would be, because that is part of your job of making sure you know everything that's going on. We've talked about how that All-Star weekend when KD and Kyrie were, plotting in the corner.
There were a
bunch of journalists there. Booed up in the corner.
They were booed up in the corner.
I think it's something that you do need to be aware of as a journalist. I don't think that we didn't question that, at least. But thank you for explaining, because, of course, a lot of times there are things that are just taken out of context, and then people pick their sides without actually understanding the whole story.
Because after he did it once, he did it again after another timeout. And that's when they started yelling at him. And Tony Dobbins got involved. I was like, Hield did it again.
That man was not.
This time he took like a layup. This time he took a layup. And he was like, dude, don't stop shooting.
And at that point, it's taunting at that point, because they already told you no. And then you're like, all right, well.
So he was being extra.
Yeah, but hey.
Yeah.
Were you going to say, Sherrod?
No, I was just going to say, it reminds me of just what happened, before the AFC Championship, where you had Patrick Mahomes and you had Kelsey and you had the kicker for the Ravens, who they said, could you move over a little bit? And he literally moved like a little bit. And then Kelsey, he went Neanderthal caveman on him and took his stuff and just tossed it. And then my thing is like this. It's pretty ballsy for a kicker to be just like, I'm that dude.
Right.
The kicker, he was not scared at all. And he just kind of laughed it off afterward, kind of like what Buddy Hield do, kind of laugh it off. But, they know
what they're doing.
Players are sensitive, and players are they play mind games, whether it's during the game, during timeouts, any kind of edge they could potentially think they can get over you. They're going to try to do that. Buddy Hield is showing the ability that he's all about trying to play those mind games, which I get. I respect that. But, Tony Dobbs ain't having it.
Nope. Once he says something, you need to stop.
When he's not having it, you need to leave the premises. People like him make me nervous because he's so cool and calm that if he's a little bit irate,
not on his bad side at all. 100% agree.
I don't want that smoke. I ain't trying to go nowhere that those clouds. I don't want that smoke at all. Nope.
Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite snacks, and placing some super bets. The thing that we love here on the Big 3 NBA podcast is the fact that you are able to gather with your friends, family, eat some good food, play, watch a good game, watch the halftime show. So why not do that also with FanDuel? FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which player will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/Boston to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The NBA All-Star reserves will be announced on Thursday. By the time you're listening or watching this, they might have been announced already, but either way, Jaylen Brown, all but a lock-in to be chosen at this point. Of course, Tatum is a starter. We know this. But let's talk about Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis. We've talked about them over the last few weeks when it comes to whether or not they'll sneak into the final lineup. But what do you two think? How many All-Stars will Boston have this February?
I think Derek White will get in. I don't think Porzingis will.
Yeah.
And I think that's just how it should be. When you look at Porzingis does a really great job of setting the tone for a lot of these wins that the Celtics are able to get, which is great. But Derek White has just been money when it mattered most. Big shots in the fourth quarter, big plays defensively. And Porzingis, to a certain extent, has done that as well. But Derek White's consistency at just being a difference maker, I think, is what coaches are ultimately going to not give him the nod. And the thing that I mentioned, from the very beginning, when it became clear that Derek White was going to at least find some way to play his way into the conversation of being an all-star, is you got to put some distance between you and the next club up the bat. And they have consistently allowed themselves to have a 2, 3, 4 game cushion between them and the next best team. That's what you have to do to get more than like 2 all-stars. You have to show a certain level of play that goes above and beyond what good teams typically do. Because at this point, a good team would have maybe a game and a half, 2-game lead over the rest of the pack. And the Celtics have been flirting with like 4 and 5. Like right now, they're 4.5 games ahead of Milwaukee for the best record in the East. And, the Timberwolves, they're not that far. They're around the same spot as the Bucks are. So the Celtics have shown the ability to handle their business, keep winning, and Derek White has been a big part of that. Even when he had his slump, he was still making plays when it came to crunch time. So D White get in, Porzingis not so much, which I'm cool with because Porzingis he could use some rest. He might want to get some rest
For the second half. Gary, you agree?
I think it's going to be tough for either to get on the team, maybe injury replacement. I just think there's other guys around the league that are just going to get the coach's vote. You got guys like Trae Young, Bam Adebayo, Paolo Banchero, Tyrese Maxey, maybe Darius Garland or Jared Allen in Cleveland, Jalen Brunson in New York. It's a lot. You only have 7 spots. So I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be tough. I think it can happen with Derek White, like Sherrod said. I don't know about Porzingis. I think either one. I think coaches will have to determine, the other coaches in the league, how valuable each player is to the Celtics' success, and whether they want to vote for 3 Celtics in the All-Star. Because if you look at the 7, so you got Jaylen. Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson of the Knicks, maybe Tyrese Maxey, that's 3. And then you're looking at Bam Adebayo's 4, Trae Young 5, Paolo Banchero 6. And then there's going to be, the 7 spot. Who do you fill that with? That's going to be the interesting situation, right? Do you put Julius Randle in? Do you vote him in if he's healthy? I think he's going to be out a few weeks with a shoulder injury. So does he make it? What about someone from the Cavs? Like, there's just a lot right now, a lot of players up for these spots that Derek and Kristaps could be the 8th instead of the 7th, right? They could barely make the cut, or they could get on. It could go either way. Like, Trae Young, like how, what do you think? Is he an all-star? That's a good question. What about, because you look at some of the teams, Detroit, Washington, Charlotte, Toronto, Brooklyn, they ain't got no all-stars. But then you're starting to talk about guys who, said Adebayo. Is he an all-star even though the Heat's on the 7-game losing streak? I think he's obviously an exceptional player. So it's just, it's going to get down to the final votes. And I think they both have a shot, but man, it's going to get, I just think maybe some of these guys, because I just think you got to look at Banchero in Orlando, and there's going to be guys that get their spot, get their chance, and Derek White and Kristaps might be passed up, but I do think both deserve it.
Trae Young is the one that I find is going to be a tough call because the numbers he's giving you like 27, 10, and 3 rebounds or something like that. But he's doing what Trae does pretty much every year. He doesn't shoot the ball particularly well in terms of efficiency. And his team is not that damn good. They're like 10th in the East. I don't know how the coaches are going to view that because if the Hawks were like 4th, 5th, 6th best record, it'd be a no-brainer. He's in. But when you're that low in terms of the standings and your numbers are good, but you're not leading the league in scoring, you're like what, top 5, top 10 maybe, and your team is as bad as the one that he's on. I don't know. I just don't know whether he's the guy that belongs in that top 12. So
it's a heavy guard. Like, you look at Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, and Donovan Mitchell. That's 3 of the 7 spots. Donovan Mitchell averaging 28 a game.
He'll get in. Yeah, he'll get in.
Yeah, he'll get in.
So that's what you're looking at here. And then Maxey, do you give him that? It might be hard for him to get on because he's a guard. What about Julius Randle? He's having a very good season after a slow start. I would say Banchero, averaging 23 points a game in Orlando, has a winning record. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. So, I said, Bam Adebayo, and then you got out somebody's probably, would you put Jimmy Butler on the team? Now, Jimmy's not played only 32 games, so probably not. I don't think he'll be, but there's guys who are, qualified who might be more household names, I would say, than Derek White. I think Trae Young's the one that people are going to be like, wait a minute, man. But Trae's he's a box office kind of player. He scores big time points. He's basically the best player on the Hawks, and he's averaging
27 and 11.
Yeah. And he's averaging 11 assists a game. I mean, Sherrod, 11 assists a game, 29 double-doubles with points and assists. Those are good numbers, even though the team is losing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Coming up next, LeBron and the Lakers are in town, TD Garden on Saturday. Celtics still the best record in the NBA. The Lakers are tied for 9th in the West, 10 games out of first place right now. So do you two think the rivalry has lost its luster within at least this year, or is it still something that fans will be craving?
What you think, Gary?
I think it's still a rivalry as long as, when you got LeBron, whenever LeBron comes into the Garden, it's going to be an exciting time. It's going to be, and the Lakers are going to play well. The Lakers are not going to come to Boston and lay down, even though they've lost a couple of ball games in a row to Houston and Atlanta. They don't look good. The defense isn't playing good or well at all. Darvin Ham seems like he's kind of lost. He's on that Adrian Griffin road at this point. It just seems like there's going to be some changes, but I always expect the Lakers to play their best game. AD and LeBron are going to play. There's going to be somebody like Austin Reeves, Hachimura. Somebody's going to come through with a 20-plus point game that we don't expect. Torian Prince, because the Lakers are going to play well in Boston. So I expect this to be a very competitive game. Even though the Lakers have not been competitive, they got blown out pretty much the last 2 games. I expect them to play well. And I think this is still a rivalry. And I said, whenever you have LeBron James in the building, there's going to be T-shirts outside that are sold outside the Garden disparaging his name. I don't want to say what they say, but they're going to have LeBron T-shirts outside. They're not going to be, we love LeBron on them. Believe me.
Not friendly for work. Not safe for work shirts.
No. They're going to be sold outside the Garden. So it's still a rivalry. Obviously, you like the Lakers to be better. I think people thought they would be better, but they're 24-25, and they just, all the guys that they picked up ain't worked out.
Yeah. And they're not a very good team. And LeBron, as great a player as he is, and the ability that he has to lift up franchise and elevate them to places that they don't belong, this team is trash right now. If just keep it honest, they're not very good. They don't have a system in place where you can see that young talent is evolving and developing, that can be of significant impact type players. They don't got like a first or second year Jason Tatum type around, or a first or second year Jaylen Brown, or hell, they don't even got really a freaking first or second year Peyton Pritchard, really. Their cupboard is right now, it's stocked full of players that don't have a lot of upside left in their game. And when you're where they are record wise, and you look at the way they play, and LeBron, I mean, Father Time is right behind LeBron, just saying, any day now, I'm coming. I'll be there any day now. You wonder whether this rivalry is going to be more than just a rivalry in our minds and folks from a generation prior. Like, if you're a fan that's in your like teens, early 20s, do you really see the Lakers as a rival of the Celtics? Probably not. You see them as a team that when they come to town, your mama and your uncle, they make a big deal about when they come to town. But do you, as a basketball fan, do? No, you probably get more psyched up to see like the Grizzlies when Ja Morant comes into the building, or Wembanyama from San Antonio, and and Chet and his crew in OKC. It's a rivalry, but it's a dying / fading rivalry though. And those things go in cycles. I mean, there's this period of time. It's always going to be a rivalry to some extent, but it does not have nearly as much energy and sizzle for what I call the casual supporters of the teams. It's the diehards that see it as a rivalry, but for the casual Celtic fan, for the casual Lakers fan, it's just another team on a schedule.
That's understood. I can agree with that as well. I think the Lakers will obviously play up to the opponent, knowing LeBron James and knowing the level of competition that these players usually approach games. But to your point, I don't see that sustaining itself over the next few years either. This might be the
last time we see LeBron at the Garden. It might be the last time he plays at the TD Garden.
That's actually, that's a good point. That's something to think about.
So,
yeah,
that's reason to come out and see him.
There we go. Well, next week we'll probably talk a little bit more about the All-Star selections. We can do a little more of a deep dive, talk about your favorite All-Star memories or experiences. But for now, that's all we have for this week's episode of the Big 3 NBA podcast. Leave a review if you haven't done so already. Share this episode with a friend. We appreciate you all listening. And once again, I do want to shout out the Dorchester YMCA for letting me use their office space for a good amount of time. I know someone's trying to get in here. So until next week, for Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. We appreciate y'all for listening.